Hey guys, welcome to the channel, Dawson Cassinelli, D. Nelly Defense, and today my beautiful wife has joined us.
Hey guys!
And we're going to be talking about women's self-defense and getting your significant other over into the self-defense and Second Amendment world. So before we get started, I just wanted to say that the two guns that we're going to be talking about today are clear. There's nothing in the magazine. There are no rounds in this room right now. And we are cleared, absolutely nothing in the chamber. Everything is clear on that one. And same with this one here. Nothing is in the chamber. So, that being said, my wife has got quite a bit of experience in the self-defense world. She's actually a black belt in Kempo, so why don't you tell them a little bit about it?
Yeah, so I started training in Kempo martial arts when I was 9 years old, and it took me 10 years to achieve my black belt. I moved away and came back, still wanted to pursue that, so it took quite a while. But Kempo martial arts has been life-changing for me. Here's my black belt. I'm extremely proud of this. It's such an honor to have this. And a lot of people might not know much about Kempo martial arts, especially if you're not in the martial arts world, but it's kind of like a mixed martial arts to do a little bit of everything, a lot of real-life scenarios. And one of the main goals is to be able to stay on your feet during any kind of conflict or hand-to-hand combat because, well, especially being a female, my attacker is most likely going to be a male with a lot more mass and strength than me. And unfortunately, they're going to have one goal in mind, and that is to get me down. And we clearly don't want that. So best bet is to stay on your feet and be able to get away from the situation. However, I think it's crucial, especially as a female, that you do go get further training in something like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or even some kind of wrestling, because there's something that can mentally switch when your attacker gets you down, especially as a female, where something mentally can click like, oh man, he's got me down, I'm now submissive, I can't do anything from this point forward. It's absolutely not true. You absolutely have to continue to fight and get out of that situation. So I do have a little bit of training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and also a little bit in Taekwondo, so kind of just gaining skills where I can. However, I felt like I wanted more self-defense, especially once we started having children. We've got two beautiful babies, a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, so I wanted to be really comfortable with firearms as well. And I did have training, a little bit of training with firearms as a teenager. Unfortunately, nobody really took the time to teach me fundamentals, being able to actually demonstrate drills, being really comfortable with firearms, and even being able to hit a target. So it really didn't serve me much justice. And that's where he came in to really help me get comfortable with that.
Yeah, so guys, I've been in guns my whole life, not intimidated by them. I've always loved them, always loved the Second Amendment. But guys, I made a giant mistake when we were first starting out. And the gun that we went with, we didn't do enough research on. And it's just awful, guys. It's just awful. So it's this SCCY right here. And it is, and again, guys, it's clear. It's horrible. So we're gonna do this trigger pull here. It's like a 12-pound trigger pull. And it is just, there it is. And it's just awful. And that was making her flinch and anticipate the shot so bad. It's got a lot of kick in this little gun. It was rubbing her knuckle right here really bad, making her bleed, which, guys, if you were going to be using a gun for a self-defense situation, Lord forbid that ever happen, you want it to make the attacker bleed, not yourself. Obviously, that's exactly the opposite of what you want. So, babe, tell them what you don't like about this gun.
Okay, so I don't like anything about this gun. It's absolutely terrible. When we went to shop for this gun, we went to the gun store, young kids, thought we were all cool, which, yeah, it's great. We're getting into firearms even more, which is awesome. But, you know, we put it in my hand, and Dawson's like, well, how's it feel? And I'm like, yeah, it feels good. And unfortunately, the sales rep there was like, yeah, that's a great little gun to get started with, blah, 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 blah. So we purchased it.
He should have talked to us just a little bit more, especially for the woman's self-defense gun, because that's not great. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. It's not good.
But it's awful. It really is. And then we did more research as we grew in that community, and we come up with this. So this is the Smith & Wesson Easy Shield, and this is the 380 version of it. It's got a thumb safety and a grip safety, and this allows the slide, for one, to rack super easily. I mean, you could do it with 2 fingers. You can do it with 1 finger if you want. I mean, it's super easy to rack, and it also allows the trigger pull to be a lot less. So again, guys, gun is cleared. There's no magazine in here, and we're gonna do this trigger pull here. So it's nice, crisp, the reset is right there, and it's just a really, really crisp, short trigger pull, and that just keeps her from hesitating on the shot and then anticipating that shot.
Which is very important.
Which is very important, and that way you're not flinching every time you shoot. Another thing she likes to do is with this really nice thumb safety on here, she rides this thumb with her strong hand on there on top of that safety, and it allows her to just control that recoil just a little bit more, and it's just a good place to have it there. So anyways, tell them what you like about that gun.
So this gun I like everything about. I really, really do. I was so excited when Dawson got me this gun. What was it, a birthday present or something? I'm not sure.
Something. Valentine's or birthday
it's
or
kind of our
something.
Trend.
Yeah.
Each other firearms for special occasions.
Yes.
Anyways, so I love it. A big thing for me, especially having children, was having safeties, especially for those people who carry your weapon in your purse. Though we're aware there's a weapon in there, toddlers can get into a lot of things, and you could be distracted, and you don't want, obviously, your toddler to be able to access a weapon, but if they did, you definitely want to make sure that there's safeties on there. However, I carry my gun on myself. I believe you should be carrying your weapon on yourself if you plan to use it for self-defense. So the safeties were a huge thing for me, and then it fits so nice in the hand. It has little to no kick. I can conceal it really, really nice, and immediately I started hitting my targets spot on almost every single time, even during drills and moving. So that really brought my confidence up, and now I'm comfortable with this weapon, because before I wouldn't even want to carry that because I was not comfortable and I was not confident with it. And you need to make sure you're confident and accurate if you're going to be using a weapon for self-defense. So,
and guys, getting your spouse or significant other into this world, make sure that you do the research together, and make sure that you get a gun that they enjoy shooting, something that they want to go. They ask you if they can go shoot their gun and practice with their gun, because it's just going to make the whole experience more enjoyable for you and for her, just for everybody in general, right? And yeah, as soon as she got this gun, her confidence level was just shooting through the roof. It was awesome, amazing, absolutely a good investment. And guys, take the time, do the research, and if you're young out there just getting into it, make sure to do the research, right? And don't go get something. Again, at this point in time, I will say we had just moved across the country, and we're two broke kids trying to find our way in the world. And we got married, and then we moved to Texas, and great time. But anyways, beside the point, just do your research, okay? Because
that's a budget gun.
This is a budget gun, but if we would have saved just a little bit more, done more research, then we would have saved a lot of time and energy wasted on this that we could have done on this. So, but babe, if you are a black belt in Kempo, why would you need a gun?
So I feel I'm extremely, extremely grateful for all of my training, especially the mental training that came along with my black belt, which is now going to help me. If, Lord forbid, I ever have to use this weapon, it's going to help me keep a composure and have that mental strength. However, in any kind of conflict, one, you're going to want to gain distance. I don't want to be hand-to-hand combat, especially with a melee attacker.
And
it's just...
guns are violence at a distance, guys. That's the whole point, is to create distance. So.
Right. And a lot of people might say, well, you have a black belt in martial arts. Why would you draw a weapon? You know, why would you want to hurt somebody that way? But the point is, they chose to attack me. That was their decision. And I've got a family to get home to, so I'm not messing around. If somebody attacks me, that's on them. What happens to them is on them, because I'm getting home to my kids. And if I am at a grocery store, again, this martial arts training is amazing, but if I have my toddler with me, I'm not going to want to be in hand-to-hand combat with somebody. I'm going to want to be able to gain distance and be able to draw a weapon while still holding on to my child. Because, again, in a situation like that, I'm not going to want to put my kid down to fight off this person, because a lot of times there's multiple attackers too. I put my kid down, someone snatches him because now I'm distracted. Again, if you attack me, that is on you. And this is my main point of self-defense. And Lord forbid I'm not able to draw this or hit my target. Now I have a dang good backup, an amazing set of skills to back me up there.
So, guys, this is the great equalizer, right? These guns are the great equalizer. We got to realize that men in general are stronger than women. It's just the way that we were designed. Women are absolutely incredible. You are smarter than us in every single way possible. You can multitask. You can create life. You guys are absolutely amazing. I mean, I can't chew gum and walk at the same time because I'm just a caveman, okay? But inherently, guys are stronger than women. So having something like this kind of bridges that gap, I guess, so to speak. Wouldn't you say so?
Definitely. For sure. So I have way more confidence being able to have this on me. And yeah, I feel good being able to carry and knowing that I have multiple sets of skills that are going to help me get home. So.
Yeah. So guys, let's talk about being self-aware, because something that I see all too often, and you guys can look, maybe you've done it, I've done it before, where we're going into the grocery store and we are just buried in our phones and we don't have any idea about what's going on around us. I mean, look at the grocery store. You'll see teenage girls, which that's who is mostly getting targeted, right? That are buried in their phones and they have no clue at all what is going on around them. So why is it so important to be self-aware, and what part of, or how big was that in your training as a black belt?
So in training as martial arts, that's a huge part of it, because again, being self-aware allows you to avoid some serious situations. It has helped me avoid some really scary stuff multiple times in my life. The mental training is so big, and being able to project that you're a confident and strong person. So a predator is looking for prey. So prey in a parking lot is somebody on their phone distracted. It's absolutely terrible.
Easy target. Don't do that, guys.
Before you leave the store, for instance, before I leave the store, I have my keys in my hand on the unlock button. I immediately shoulders back, head up. I'm looking and I'm scanning. I'm paying attention to what vehicle's approaching me, what vehicle's coming up behind me, scanning my vehicle, looking under my vehicle. Is there a sketchy van parked by my truck that's running? Red flags. I don't like that. So you need to be aware. Again, a predator's looking for prey. So if I'm scanning and I see somebody looking at me or somebody makes me uncomfortable, I'm going to make eye contact and nod like, I see you, and I'm going to put up a hell of a fight. And immediately they don't want that. So a predator doesn't want a challenge. They don't want to fight, and they want to execute their plan quietly and smoothly. And if they know she's going to be a challenge and she's going to make a scene, they don't want to do that. And
guys, what I said in my first video, excuse me, is a good bad guy has tactics, because they want to implement their plan successfully. They've gone over this time and time and time again in their head, which is awful to think that somebody would ever do that. But that's why you need to be self-aware. The best way to win a fight is to have never gotten yourself in that fight in the first place.
100%? I agree on that. And even if you're a jogger, don't go jogging with your headphones in. My instructor always said, if I drive by and I see you jogging with headphones in your ears, we're going to have a huge problem, because guys, you can't hear. Your senses are being taken away. The very senses that God gave you to survive are now being taken away, because you can't hear who's coming up behind you, who's in the bushes, who's coming even around the corner. You just don't know. So
my mom's sister actually, and I know a lot of girls and a lot of people in general that like to jog at night, and my mom's sister used to be one of them. And when she got married to her husband hated that and did not want her to do it. And she said, oh, I'll be fine. I can take care of myself. Well, one night while she was jogging past some bushes, a guy jumped out dressed in all black and grabbed her and tackled her to the ground. Luckily, it was her husband that was proving a point. But
a good point.
A good point. But what she did was not, oh, I can defend myself or anything like that. She completely froze. She was in shock. Didn't ever think that it would happen. Didn't expect it to happen. And when it did, she just froze and went down to the ground. And her husband made an excellent point, and she never did that again. So
and with that being said, I think that's why it's crucial to go get martial arts training, to get that mental preparation, and to be able to react, because so many times you will get attacked and you do freeze, and you need to train and give yourself the best advantage you can. There's still a chance being attacked, you could freeze, but you have a much better advantage. And growing up, my dad always told us, even before we got into martial arts, if somebody were to attack you or grab you, you turn into a freaking cat. And that sounds funny, but if you think about it, if you throw a cat in a bathtub and then try to pick it up, nobody wants to hold on to a pissed off cat. So it's scratching, it's meowing, it's flailing around. That's a big scene, and you're going to go, whoa, I don't like that. That's terrifying and that's scary. Or my instructors in martial arts would say, flip your bitch switch. So if somebody were to attack you, you've got to just go ballistic on this person, bite, kick, scream as loud as you can. I don't care if they're telling you to be quiet. You need to get out of that situation. They're just trying to intimidate you, and you've got to go absolutely crazy. And again, I have and all the techniques in my martial arts, I've done thousands and thousands and thousands of repetitions of those to get that muscle memory and to be able to just learn how to move and get out of situations. But if somebody attacks me, I'm not going to be thinking about, I've got to implement this technique right now. I'm going to freak the frick out on this guy and hurt him in any way possible to get out of there and get home. So keep that in mind, especially if you don't have any martial arts training. Turn into a freaking cat.
And guys, speaking of not ever thinking anything is going to happen to you until it happens to you, we live in a very rural town, small town in Nevada, and my wife actually has a cool story, or I guess not cool, but...
It's cool now.
Yeah, it's cool now, I guess. But in the time was a scary situation, but because of her training, she was able to work through it. So guys... What's your story, babe?
Yeah, so I was working at a cell phone store. Again, small cowboy town. It's nothing but ranchers and gold miners out here. So you wouldn't really think anything's going to go down. So working at a cell phone store here, sitting at a desk. I'm actually on the phone with my customer. And because I'm self-aware all the time, I'm always on. I never let my guard down, if at all possible. So though I'm on the phone and I'm pulling up this customer's account and I'm typing and I'm multitasking, I'm still scanning that door. I'm still aware. You can kind of see, there was windows, you can kind of see a head start walking up this sidewalk. So I'm always scanning to see who's approaching our building, just because it's within me, it's what I know. And so immediately I see this man start approaching our store, and bad feeling. I was like, okay, something's off. I caught it. I was not caught off guard. I'm like, something's off with this guy. I'm gonna watch him. So I'm on the phone and I'm still paying attention to my customer, but I'm watching. And sure enough, here comes this black shadowy figure with a face mask on. I'm like, oh, here we go. Opens the door, he draws a pistol. I mean, he's screaming, get on the effing ground, get on the effing ground. And I kept my composure. Now, if somebody has a pistol on you, this is not a joke. That is a serious threat. Take it seriously. But you have to keep your composure and stay mentally focused. So you want to listen to what they're asking for, especially it's not worth risking my life for the few $100 that's in this drawer at my job. So I kept my composure and I was listening to what he was saying, but I was staying calm. You don't want to, if somebody has a pistol on you or any kind of weapon, you don't want to leap at them and jump out of your chair and get on the ground, because
you don't know if they are out of their minds, drugged and whacked out or anything, and they're very, very touchy.
And their adrenaline's through the roof, so they could see, if you leap at them to get on the ground, they could see that being a major threat. Like, they're leaping at me, because they're not, I mean, their adrenaline's up, could be on drugs. Come to find out, the man who attacked us was under the influence. So here I am on the phone with my customer, and I'm like, ma'am, I'm going to have to call you right back. Put the phone down calmly.
Nothing gets in the way of good customer service.
Nothing.
Or at that point, I would say great customer service. Just throwing that out there.
Later in the investigation, the detectives were cracking up. They must have played that clip back like 50 times. They're like, look at you, like, ma'am, getting robbed at gunpoint, so let me just call you back and we'll fix your issue. Anyways, I mean, it's funny, but it's not funny, but it is. So I calmly sit the phone down, put my hands up, I get on the ground, and he robs my desk and he leaves the store. So as I'm on the ground, I look over and here's my supervisor, a middle-aged man. I mean, he flung out of his chair so fast, and he was in the back corner. Not that this wasn't a threat to him, too. He flung out of his chair, he sprawled out on the ground, and he's completely lost it. He is so emotional in the situation. So robber leaves, I jump up, and I'm now taking charge. Here I am, an 18, 19-year-old girl. Here's my middle-aged man supervisor, just lost his mind. I jump up, I lock the door, and I'm like, you need to call 911. Call 911 right now. And then immediately I call our district manager, and I'm running the show, and I'm trying to console with him. And I'm like, look, the pistol was pointed at me. Again, not that he wasn't under any kind of threat. But
it would have been better to stay calm in that situation. Again, people can be very touchy, and you want to stay calm and try to let yourself be control of the situation.
Yes, because losing your mind is not going to help. And let's say, too, most people do have backup, and this guy did. He had two guys waiting outside. So let's say I was the one who completely lost my mind, and I'm like, oh, please don't hurt me. Oh my gosh, don't hurt me. I'll do whatever you say, blah, blah, blah. Not that I wasn't listening to him, but I was confident about it. And I'm like, okay, you don't scare me, but I'm going to listen. You got the gun pointed at me. Okay. He could have easily changed his plans if I was weak. He could have been like, hey, you are weak, and I'm going to take you with me because I like that, because you're weak and you're not going to put up any kind of fight. And I've got two guys out here in a van ready to go. Let's go. I'm taking you too.
No.
And
guys,
it could have happened if I was weak.
Yes, exactly. And guys, I do want to throw out there, yes, there are times in certain situations that you have to kind of
Yeah.
act like you're weak to give them the impression that they are completely in control of the situation while trying to take control of the situation. Maybe getting your hands closer to the weapon. Please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me. And then do whatever. But like you said, you know, you don't, there's other times that you don't want to do that because it's going to make the problem way, way worse.
Right. So, and I want to comment too, later in the investigation, it was found that pistol that was drawn on us was not actually real. It was an airsoft gun, and I actually got mocked for that. Oh, it wasn't even a real pistol. It's not even that cool of a story, or this or that, or you weren't in any kind of threat. Here's the deal. He was in the store for 4.8 seconds total.
Drugged.
So
under the influence.
Okay, and if somebody's pointing a weapon at you, take it as a real threat because it is, and you don't have time to be like, can you turn it sideways? Can I see if that's a BB gun or a soft gun or airsoft gun, or so. The fact that I was even mocked, you can't tell if somebody were to point this at you. You can't tell in an instant if this is real or fake.
Guys, your mind in those situations has to process so much information, and you're not gonna sit there and be like, what barrel is that? Okay.
And
That's
regardless,
not gonna happen.
This guy was terrifying. He was out on parole. He just got out of prison after like 5 years, out on parole for 2 days, and he robs us at gunpoint. So even if it wasn't a real gun, that man is still a threat. He's not a good person. So yeah. And I didn't want to find out if it was a real gun, especially for a few $100s for a desk job. No, not worth it.
No, and he, maybe if you did see that, maybe he pulls out a real knife and then does something even worse to you. So
and you pissed him off even more.
And you pissed him off even more. So guys, we need to be careful about that. And speaking of that training and what you had and what has helped you in those situations, let's talk about, well, you actually have another situation that I think that it's really important, especially for women and young women to hear.
Be self-aware.
To be self-aware.
Yeah, so I know it's said all the time, especially if you're going to college or you're a partier or anything like that, is check your drink. Never leave your drink unattended if you're at a bar or at a party. And if you are at a bar or a party, I believe you should not be drinking. It's going to mess with your senses. Again, these senses God gave you. But anyways, if you are, or even if you just have a soda, don't leave your drink and go to the restroom. Maybe finish your drink first and then go and get a fresh drink when you come back. And it's so, so true. And it's not something that's just thrown around. It's something that needs to be taken very, very seriously. And even with people you trust, just never be caught off guard, guys, if you can. So I can guarantee you there was a situation where I felt something off. I looked at my drink. I saw some residue in there and I was not comfortable with it. Somebody had made me a drink. I came back. Oh, here's your drink. And I'm like, residue in there. I don't feel good about it. I said, oh, I'm good. I don't want to drink that. I actually pissed the person off, which is guaranteed to me that there was something up with that. And I said, how about you take that one and I'll make myself one. Oh, forget about it. Dumps it out, rinses it out, makes a new drink. So tell me what the hell was going on there.
Yeah, exactly. That, and being self-aware kept her out of something that could have been an awful, awful, awful situation. And guys, we don't want to do that. And that's our whole point of this video, is you want to get women into self-defense, because guys, it is so important. And unfortunately, there are too many out there that have never even thought about it. And like I said, they're buried in their phones. They're not self-aware. And it needs to start happening. That's why we're doing this video, is we want to bring you into this world. And guys, bringing your significant others into this world, do it in a good way, right? If you're bringing them over to the self-defense and Second Amendment world, don't give them a bad experience, right? Don't do this. Do this, okay? And that's very important. I know all too many people that have brought their wives out shooting and put a 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum in their hands, and it just blows out of their hands. Well, now everything they were afraid of or just not confident with in guns, you just amplified, right? And people think it's funny. It's not funny. You want to make it the best experience possible. You want them to have as much fun as possible, to where they want to go out there, to where they want to make it like us. We have a date day, right? And pretty much every week, our date day is going to the range. We love it. We absolutely love it. We can blow off steam. We're always in a better mood after. But I really worked on her and got her slowly to the point where now she asks me to go to the range. And that's what you want. You want to work them into this world slowly, but make it as fun as possible. I can't stress that enough.
And I have to say kudos to you, because he was never degrading to me, never mocked me, never laughed. And if I
don't do that.
That's just messed up. And so many men will do that. And a lot of men don't have patience, especially to teach somebody weapons or something that they're really fluent in, and it's like, oh my gosh, this girl just doesn't get it, she's just a girl. Don't ever do that. And if you are one of those men that can't take the time to teach your wife or help them, because doing that is going to help them get back home to you and your children every single night, then you need to go find somebody who can train them and get them well versed. But if I ever messed up, especially with this gun, instead of mocking me or laughing, because he could hit the target with that gun, because he could control that kind of kickback, he would say, what can I help you with? Well, what are you doing? How are you looking down the sights? Let's fix your stance. Never, ever was degrading, and I so appreciate that, because now I do have that confidence in this.
And guys, it's so important not to degrade. I don't know why anybody wants to do that. And we have to think about this, right? As protectors, we often think physically we're always going to be there to protect our wives. And of course, that's what we want. That's just embedded into us. But what happens when you're at work and she's at home with the kids? Or what happens when she's at the grocery store and you're not, right? Because if you're walking in the grocery store with your spouse, most likely you're not going to get targeted, right? The guy's there. That's not an easy target. They want to go for the easy target. But what happens when you're not with her, right? So you need to get her into that world so that she can defend herself or her children when you aren't there, which I'm guessing is a lot of times because you're at work, or you're doing this, or maybe you have to travel for work, or all these different situations. And guys, we always think about the, so-called, or the famous bump in the night, right? But all too often, break-ins happen in the middle of the day, because that's when those people know, well, these guys are at work. They're not home, right? So what happens in that situation? And one of the things I do with my wife, I don't do it with my children yet, I will when they get to a certain age, but is I put her in scenarios. So I'll be in the kitchen and I say, babe, what are you going to do if somebody breaks in the door right now? And she goes, okay, well, I'd go get my gun and take care of business or whatever, right? And I go, but okay, what if they break down the door, they have a gun pointed at you, and they say, I'm going to effing kill you and your kids if you don't do exactly what I say? Right? Have you gone over these scenarios to prepare your significant other for this stuff? Like, have you truly, truly thought about it? Because it does happen, and again, you never think it's going to happen until it does.
I never thought I'd get robbed at gunpoint in a cell phone store, and that's another thing, having well thought out plans, like he's saying, is, if I'm in the living room and my kids are sleeping down the hall and my weapons are this way, well, surely I'm not going to want to go the opposite way of my children to go have to get something. So maybe you have multiple weapons throughout the house that are high, secure, and safe away from your children, but maybe you have options, or maybe you're carrying on you inside of your home. I know a lot of people that will do that. Even just doing that to help you get comfortable for when you do go out to town. You're comfortable carrying because you're familiar with it. You're used to moving around and having this weapon on you. So,
and getting familiar, having your significant other do dry fire and different drills in the house to just get them used to their gun. Have them hold it, have them carry it, have them do as much with it as possible. What I mean by dry fire, again, clear, is have them, pull in and get ready for that stance, and then push out and get on their sight. Have a little target or even just a piece of tape on the wall that you can have them push out to, right? Push out to. And doing that stuff and then getting used to the trigger pull and all of that different stuff is all stuff that you could do without even ever having to fire a shot. So it's really, really good practice. And to get good, you really need to do it too. Right. No matter who you are, you've all done dry fire, no matter how good of the shooter. So that's important as well. But having that mental attitude and that plan to fall back on if a scary situation does happen, which Lord forbid it ever happens. We don't want it ever to happen. We don't ever want to put ourselves in that situation. A lot of people don't lock their doors during the daytime when they're home because they think nothing's going to happen. But again, that's when a lot of break-ins happen. Right. So that could stop a situation if your doors are locked. So what preparations have you made is what we're getting at.
Exactly. And I also want to talk about for women wanting to get into self-defense or weapons and all that great stuff, and you don't have somebody to help train you at home, I want to say that it can be very intimidating. You have to have some confidence in yourself, because it takes a lot of courage to walk into, let's say, a dojo, and it's going to be mainly male dominant, especially something like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So when I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it was all men, already upper belts. And here I am. Yes, I had a black belt in Kempo. That's phenomenal. But I didn't have any skill set on the ground. And it was intimidating, even having, at that point, 11 years of martial arts training. It was intimidating to walk into that, even with my training. But here's something that one of my previous mentors told me, and it's always stuck with me, especially being a female, is if you walk into a room or a business meeting or even Walmart, and let's say you're the most shy person you know, like you're insecure about yourself and you're shy, the point is if you walk into that room, other people don't know who you are. So you can walk in there and project that you're one of the most confident people out there. Walk in there with your shoulders back and your head up, and not like in a cocky way, just like a, hey, I'm confident with myself and I'm comfortable with who I am. And they won't know any different. So walk in there and rock it. And you need to know that martial arts instructors are going to expect women to come get training because it's so crucial and important. And nobody there is going to mock you.
No, that's their job.
That's their life work, is to help serve others and help teach people self-defense to get them home at the end of the day, at the end of every day. So don't feel intimidated. And even in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like, okay, sometimes those guys gave me crap, like, oh, you're a black belt and you can't keep up with us. But it's a totally different kind of training. But it was in a joking way. It was nothing that was degrading. And the point is that, and you might feel bad, like when I started, they all took it easy on me. But their job ultimately is to get you better, and they're going to break you out of your shell and get you confident. So they're going to kind of take it easy on you and then start putting a little more pressure, a little more pressure, and a little more pressure until you're in a real life situation. And that's their job. So don't be intimidated by that, especially going and getting training with weapons. These men are expecting to have women come in and get training. So
and guys, a point that I want to make, you know, if you're a woman that's intimidated to go in and train with guys, we have to understand that most attackers are going to be guys, you know? So don't be intimidated to go get controlled training with guys, right? Because I would rather have that controlled environment where you're getting the skill set that you need to be able to defend yourself than not have it and have something happen in an uncontrolled environment and not be able to have any skill set whatsoever to defend yourself and come home to your family or come home, period, right? The last thing we want to happen is for something bad to happen to you, and that's why this is so important.
It's so important. So you just got to keep in mind, at the end of the day, if somebody attacks you, it's them or me, and I'm coming home to my family. So whatever it takes, I'm coming home to my family. And if not, I'm going to die trying, because I'm not going to let them take me and do whatever it is that they want to do. I will die in that battle because that's just not going to happen for me. So.
Well, guys, I think we covered a lot of stuff here. Do you think we covered everything?
I think so.
All right. So, guys, thank you. If you enjoyed this comment, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, comment down below, okay? Tell us experience that you've had and, you know, what your skill set level is and what you want to do, what classes you've taken. Guys, get involved. We want a community of people to get involved. But, guys, don't be caught off guard. Train for the unexpected, and we